please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so NHL free agency is in full swing. And today I want to talk about a few deals, 3 to be exact, that I think could really be under the radar steals of free agency so far that we've seen, and deals that are very low risk for the team, but could reap huge rewards if these players really go off and get back to being the players that they once were in the NHL. Now, before I begin, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new and give this video a thumbs up. Both of those things really help out a lot and are very much appreciated for the channel. But let's get into it here, starting at number 3, where I have Bobby Ryan, who signed a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Detroit Red Wings. And there's no doubt Bobby Ryan has not had a good few years now. The end of his tenure with the Ottawa Senators was really rough the past 3 years, really the past 4 years. And Ryan struggled with injuries. He hasn't had a 20-goal season since 2015-16. He hasn't had a 50-point season since 2015-16. And obviously had his very well-known battle with alcoholism as well that he overcame this past year, which won him the Masterton Trophy. But Bobby Ryan in Ottawa did not work out the way that the Ottawa Senators were hoping. But nonetheless, he signs a very cheap deal at 1 year, $1 million with the Detroit Red Wings. He's now a veteran player, and I think this could really reap a big reward for the Detroit Red Wings, as maybe not necessarily he's going to come in and put 50 points up again. Maybe he will. If he does that, this will be an unbelievable contract. But even without that, I just think having a veteran guy who's been through as much as Bobby Ryan has will be such a great thing from a leadership and mentorship standpoint with a young, rebuilding team like the Detroit Red Wings. I absolutely love this deal for Detroit. It's a bare minimum contract who brings in a player who used to be a perennial 30-goal scorer back in the day, who's really gone through some hardships, really struggled over the past few years. And hey, Bobby Ryan doesn't have to score 30 goals again for this to be a good contract. If Bobby Ryan comes out and scores 15 goals and, 25 assists and finishes with 40 points, or comes out and scores 20 goals, then this is already a massive win for the Detroit Red Wings. And if he doesn't, he can play on the 3rd or 4th line. I think he'll bring you at least 10 goals as long as he's not injured. If he plays the season, he's going to bring you, I think, at least 10 to 15 goals, probably more than that if he stays healthy. And what's the worst that can happen? It's a 1-year deal. It's $1 million against the cap. That's nothing. And you have a veteran leader in your locker room in Bobby Ryan. This is just a no-risk, potentially very rewarding deal on multiple fronts, not just from a scoring standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint as well. A potentially rewarding deal for the Detroit Red Wings, and I love it. I think that this could be one of the steals of free agency, and I have it number 3 on my list. At number 2, I have Alexander Wenberg, who signed with the Florida Panthers on a 1-year deal worth $2.25 million. And this could potentially really work out for the Florida Panthers here. Alexander Wenberg is a 26-year-old center who was given up on by the Columbus Blue Jackets for obvious reasons. If you look at his point total, 2016-17 was Wenberg's breakout NHL season. He had 59 points for Columbus that year, 46 assists that season. Since then, though, it has been all downhill. Only 35 points the next season, and he missed a bunch of games. Down to 25 points the season after that. And last season, he only played 57 games and had just 22 points for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I completely understand why the Blue Jackets bought him out and decided to give up on him. They are moving in a different direction. But Alexander Wenberg has shown that he has the potential to be a point producer. and that he is a guy who can score 50 points in a season. And now he's getting a fresh start on a highly offensive-minded team in the Florida Panthers, who were one of the top goal-scoring teams last year. He gets to go there on a very cheap, low-risk, one-year deal to Florida, or he'll probably center the third line, or he could play wing, and he's going to get a chance to rejuvenate his career with the Florida Panthers. And I think that, again, very, very low risk for the Panthers. It's only a one-year deal, and it's a low cap hit at 2.25 compared to what Wenberg was making. And they have the chance, if Wenberg can get his career back on track, to get him at least to 40 points, if not to 50 points this season. 50, I think, might be a little bit of a stretch. He would need a huge comeback year for that to happen. But I don't think 40 points this year for Wenberg is that much of a stretch when you look at Florida's goal-scoring abilities in their offense. So I really, really like the addition of Alex Wenberg to the Florida Panthers. I think, he has a chance to really get his career back on track this year, put up some numbers, and, either re-sign with Florida or, be a free agent again next summer or next offseason and see, maybe get a chance to really cash in somewhere else. So Alex Wenberg to the Florida Panthers on a one-year, $2.25 million deal is my number 2 potential steal deals of the free agency in 2020 so far. And that brings us to the final one, number 1, and it is Kyle Turis with the Edmonton Oilers. Kyle Turis signed a 2-year deal at only $1.65 million per year. $1.65 million per year for Kyle Turis with Edmonton. He can play center or wing, and Kyle Turis has shown in the past that he can be a legitimate top 6 player. Now, obviously, it was an absolute disaster for Turis with the Nashville Predators. He never was comfortable in Nashville. He never fit in right in Nashville. And Nashville has always kind of been a defense-first team. His numbers have severely dropped. His last great season was in 2016-17 with the Ottawa Senators. He had 55 points in 78 games. Since then, when he was in Nashville, his numbers dropped from 42 points in 65 games to 23 points in 55 games, and then last season only 31 points in 62 games. This was a guy who scored 64 points back in 2014-15. He's 31 years old. It's not like he's in his mid-30s either. Yes, he is on the older side. He's 31, but he's not so old that he's necessarily not going to be able to bounce back. And I do think that he has the potential, maybe not to get back to a 60-point player. Again, I think that would be quite a stretch. But I certainly could see him getting back to 45, 50 points in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. And he's going to a team in Edmonton that is an offensive powerhouse, that puts up goals and puts up points. And that's almost the complete opposite of what he was in Nashville and the kind of team he was on with the Nashville Predators. So this could be a huge chance for Kyle Turis to rejuvenate his career, get back on track, and make up for what happened with the Predators. Now he could be a huge steal for the Edmonton Oilers at only $1.65 million per year. And there's virtually no risk here. Worst comes to worst, you waive him and bury him in the minors. It's a very small contract. It's only a couple of years. There's no risk here if you're Edmonton. But if Kyle Turis gets back to being a 50-point player with the Oilers, you have an absolute, one of the biggest steals you could possibly have of a contract that's not an entry-level contract. If you're only paying a 50-point guy $1.65 million per year. I mean, this is less than $2 million a year for a guy with the talent level of Kyle Turis. Now, there's certainly no guarantee that he or any of these players I'm talking about get their careers back on track and do put up those kind of points. But the contracts are so small and so cheap that they've signed that there's virtually no risk for the team here, and that's what really makes these contracts under the radar and potential sleepers, because there's virtually no risk for the teams here. But the reward possibility is massive. And Kyle Turis certainly If he gets back to being a 45, even just 50-point scorer, the reward here for Turis is absolutely massive for Edmonton with this cheap deal that they have signed. So overall, guys, that's what I've got for this one. 3 players that I think have signed very under the radar sleeper contracts that could turn out to be absolute steals for their teams. They're players that are coming out of bad situations or teams that they weren't producing for, but I do think have the talent level and the ability to potentially get their careers back on track with their new teams, and they're all on very short-term cheap contracts as well, so it could be a huge win-win for the team and the player there. You know, again, there's no guarantee that any of these guys have spectacular seasons next year or that it does work out. But because the contracts are so low, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that the potential for that to happen is there. And if it does happen, they will become absolute steals of contracts. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the link to our Patreon, merchandise store, and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.